Hey everyone, my name is Amanda. If you haven't seen me, I'm helping co-teach Art 184 with Casey this semester. One of the things that I spoke with someone in the live chat about was creating a video that talks a little bit more about file structure and file organization, which is extremely important. It's something that's going to follow you throughout your entire time in school. It's something that's going to follow you throughout your entire working career. And anything that you really do, it's great to have some sort of organization to it. I can't tell you how many times I have had a file passed off to me with someone I'm either collaborating with or a coworker, and the file structure and organization is so chaotic that it takes hours to go through things and figure out where things are, and to organize it yourself so that it makes sense. You don't want to cause that frustration for other people, right? You want to be able to have it as smooth transition as possible, and you want to also be able to access your past files, right? Let's say you're doing stuff and you're putting a reel together for your last year's worth of work, and you want to access all that stuff. It's important to have some sort of organization and structure to it so that you can easily open things up and get things done efficiently. We're all about efficiency, and being quick, and it takes time, and you will mess it up, but I am here to maybe help guide you into an appropriate direction. So I have created a test file here. I named it Classes 2022 Test. It can be anywhere on your computer that you're going to remember where it's going to be, and you can name this overarching folder whatever you want. I open it up, and the first thing I have in here is Art 184, the class that we're going to be taking. Within this class, I am going to have broken down the modules that you go through or the weeks that you're in, and then within those subfolders, there will be more details. So this can be added to, right? Like, let's say you're in, I think, Art 100, the basic graphic design class. You would have another folder here named Art 100. And then you would have a similar file structure within those. So I will go ahead and open this Art 184. And just an example here, I have week 2 typography. That's where we are currently at. And, you know, you'll add to this, right? You would have week 1, the bouncing ball, and intro information. And then week 3, and as we go further and further, you will have more folders in this Art 184 folder. So I'm going to open that week 2 typography, and in here you're going to see a series of subfolders. Now I have mine organized in a way where it's grouping things that I use. My actual one that I use in my work, my day job, is a little bit more complicated than this because I'm usually using raw footage in client branding and things of that sort. But for you guys, I just put in here what you will mostly be using, right? We're going to be using After Effects a lot. So I have a folder in here titled After Effects. Now I open that folder and there's nothing in there because the only thing that should be in there is your project file and the files that automatically generate along with it. You don't want to be moving that file around. You don't want to have it in your documents folder here and then move it into your desktop and all over the place. We want to have one area where things live. I suggest it to be on your external hard drive, so you're not taking up a bunch of space on your computer if you have limited space. Also, I would suggest if you have some sort of online cloud storage. I believe you get a certain amount with Google Drive. You know, copy this into that cloud storage so you have it in 2 different places. But that can get complicated because you have to remember to update things. So I suggest only doing that when things are completely done and you're putting the project down. If we go back to this week 2 typography folder, I have another folder named titled Assets. If I click into here, you've got a footage and an image folder. This can also contain your illustrations that you're going to create in Illustrator or Photoshop. It can contain any other kind of assets that you're going to use. You don't have to get more complicated with this, right? Dump all of your footage into this folder. Don't make a bunch of subfolders, because we can essentially just change the view of the type, and it can organize it that way for us. Automatically generates, and you're not just creating infinite amount of subfolders, right? We want to keep this concise, short, easy. Same with the images. You dump them all in there. You don't have to have a separate folder for like PNGs or JPEGs or TIFF files and things of that sort. Sort them out with the type, right? You should have a good naming convention where you can easily see things and know what it is. It shouldn't just be like 1, 2, 3, 4. Give it a nice little title that's short and easy to read and easy for you to identify. We'll go back to the main folder here, and I have audio, right? Music. You're always going to have music in your videos. Put the music there. Put the voiceover in the VO folder, right? And you might have different cuts and different versions of things, but just keep them all in that folder. We don't want to work in a destructive way. We're not, even though we might not be using that file within the project file, let's say you pick a different music choice, just keep that music choice file that you are not going to use, keep it in the music folder, right? Because you don't want to just be deleting stuff and removing things, leaving it in your project file. It becomes an issue. So the main key here, right, is non-destructive work habits. Documents folder, great for keeping things like scripts, storyboards, PDFs that you have, any kind of informational documents that you might want to pull up later. Keep in the documents folder. Renders, very important one. In fact, probably one that you will access the most. So what I would do here is, because I'd want it at the top of my list, because I work from top to bottom, I would put an underscore at the beginning, and that's automatically going to bring it up to the top. You can do a numbering convention if you want, if that works better, but this is the way I work. Now, in this renders folder, you'll open it up and notice I have one titled previous. In the main renders folder, let's say you create something and you render it out once, and then you have revisions, right? You've got that rendered video in here, but you're going to have to render out something else again. You're going to want to take that one that was already rendered and put it into your previous folder. That way you have like some kind of archival system where you can always reference your previous versions. You don't want to just delete it. You want to be able to go back and see what you've done, because I can't tell you how many times people will make revisions to things and then want them turned back to the original, right? So it's very important to keep a reference of what you've already done. And that way you're able to see which one's the newest version of it, right? Because your main render that you are outputting should be in this folder, and any other previous versions in this one. This should also apply to, now let me backtrack here for a second. This setup here would be applied to any other, let's say, folder that you have in here, right? Say you have the week 1 with the balancing ball. The setup that is in the week 2 should be in the week 1. We're keeping it consistent. Now, it all applies the same to a project file, right? We don't want to open up a project file and just have a bunch of images in here, a bunch of footage, solid layers, compositions. Sorting through that it takes time. It's annoying. We don't want to do that. So let me zoom in here. The first thing I want to show you guys is that I have some sort of, like, I have a numbering system that I use based on the folders that I am accessing the most. So this can change for you. It might work for some people, might not work for others. You know, you guys can decide what works best for you and apply it to your project files. But I like to put the one that I access the most, which happens to be my output file. I access that one the most. That's my main render that I am outputting to either a client or to turn in for class. And so I label that with an underscore, because the underscore is going to put it at the top of the list. Now below that, I use that numbering system, the 0001 and so forth, on the files that I access beyond that most often. So let me clear that out real quick. Compositions. You're going to have a lot of pre-comps. You're going to be nesting things in your project files. And so it's important to have a folder just for those, right? We want to keep it organized, being able to pass this off and let someone know that, hey, if you need to access something within this main composition right here, within your main output composition, it will be in your comps folder. Now, for instance, I created an Illustrator folder here because this project happened to have a pretty robust Illustrator file where things were broken up, and I didn't want those all over the place looking chaotic, and so I put those into their own folder. Same with assets, same with the audio, you know, choosing different options, going through different revisions, putting those all together. I think at this point you guys understand where I'm getting at, right? If you have any more questions or just want to talk about it a little bit more, you guys can go ahead and reach out to me on Slack. I'll also be available tonight in class. I'll be in person tonight, but via the live stream as well. And you can always shoot me an email if you want. But other than that, it's pretty simple. Follow it, right? I will talk to you guys later.